Okay, let's go for 25 minutes here. No agenda. Not going to be as productive as I would be if I wasn't recording this, but we're just going to kind of show you what life is somewhat like developing an application on your own as a solo developer. And let's get started. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what is next. What do I need to do next? And maybe just jotting down things I'd like to fix or improve. So just looking at what I have here, some of the things I've got. When I click CPU used by this session, obviously the same chart shows up. So I think one of the next agenda items would be to get a few more charts showing. So I'm just going to go to my app to-do file. And the way I manage to-dos is I have an app to-do file, and I just kind of jot things down. I'll review it now and then, but it kind of gives me something to go back to and see, am I missing anything or put ideas. And then I just put to-dos throughout my code, and I can do a search and find those really quickly and see if there's something I need to work on. So what I want to do is on the I need to make some different functions, queries to display more individual chart data. I guess I don't need to read this to you. On chart detail screen. So definitely need something there. And what we're trying to figure out is is anybody going to pay for this? No. So minimal viable product. Proof of concept is like, hey, look what I can do. I'm proving to you that there are some things here that are different. That kind of thing. I think in my definition of minimal viable product is the minimal product someone would pay for. And so we really are aiming for minimal viable product, and I guess proof of concept maybe is actually something that's always being done with your product. But we want to get to MVP and then begin POCs along the way as we're actually figuring out how would I get somebody to actually buy this or use it, even use it. I mean, nobody would even use it at this point. So obviously, some of the things that we would need, we've got our charts. We're going to need to work on the API. So the API and tokens are coming soon. When I started thinking about stat detail, I was looking at this, and this is your detailed data. This is going in the stat detail table. Oh yeah, I know. Just before I even forget, I'm passing around the stat ID, and this is a base 64 encoding of the stat key and the data set ID. And that gives me a unique ID. And there's a reason we're not just like assigning an ID, because we expect the user to tell us, to provide unique values. And we need some way of mapping that to an ID. And there's different ways we could do it, but I've chosen this way. So we generate a unique ID when we see the stat for the first time, and that's what we use. One of the problems I'm having is when you pass this around in a URL, you're making your URL really long. And so what we want to do, stat ID too long for URLs, need to pass around a number. So I need let's call it, and I can't spell that, pseudo ID that we generate. So I can generate a pseudo ID, and then I can fairly easily, and then I can pass that around. But obviously that doesn't need to be done now, but it'll need to be done soon, because I keep having to modify in the Google chart package, the div text, which is the text that comes back in your div, and if it has a link in it, it keeps getting longer and longer. By the way, it's always hard to know what size to make things. I'm just making them multiples of 8, 16, 32, 64, that kind of thing, for the most part. And number I rarely define. I just go with number. I don't rarely define a size. Figure if I ever need to figure that out, I'll figure it out. But I'd rather just go with number, as just to keep things moving along. So that's something we need to fix. And so I'm looking at the stat detail table now. And something I've noticed here is I've got my delta value that came in. So this is the delta when the stat came in. I've got the number of elapsed seconds between the previous number and this number. So I can figure out my rate per second. And what this data set is tracking is rate per minute. Now, one of the things I've kind of designed, the data set is meant to track one rate or deltas. And I believe there are ways to override that, but I need to make it a lot easier. So you would default to, say, a rate or whatever, and then you could go through and change some of them. So for Oracle performance data, a lot of the stuff from Systat is you want the rate, but then memory like PGA size and stuff like that grows and shrinks. And that really you just want the raw value or the delta maybe. And so I need to be able to change what I'm viewing. And I don't actually have enough information in here because I'm actually missing the raw value that was given to me for each one of these. So I need to add raw value to data set detail. So whereas I'm actually doing a lot of the calculations with triggers when this comes in, we're going to want what we display is going to be based on the desired calc type, and it'll be calculated just in the query as you generate the chart, so that it can be changed very easily. And I can change something from rate to minute, rate to second. Rate per minute, rate per hour, rate per second. Just see the deltas, just see the raw values. Make those changes, and then not end up corrupting all the history. Because all of this stuff should be just figured out when you render it. So that's something I've already been working on in the stat work table. Reconnect. Let's try reconnect. And it is windy here. Big storm hit Texas yesterday. Is kind of rolling through now, mostly just wind for us. So, why is it not showing me why is it not showing me? All right, there we go. No, stat work. Where's stat work? Okay, so I've added, elapsed seconds total and rates per second total, which is actually calculated. It's not really, it's technically, that could be named better. But I have my delta value total, so as this record is getting updated, say it's one record per hour here. So this record gets updated through an hour in stat work. That's how we kind of reduce the amount of data. Instead of storing hours and hours and hours, of detail, we just store a few hours of detail maybe, and then we aggregate these, we keep these records aggregated in stat work, and then they roll out to stat archive. So I've already done some work in that. I want to be able to change what's being displayed here by grabbing some more values. So this is what we call important big ugly table. We'll just throw columns in it as we need them. Some of them, may or may not need to be there, but we're getting the job done. I kind of explain my way of doing things as brute force and inching along, and as long as you keep going forward, over time, you should be able to build something great, hopefully. So so we need to work on that. And what else do we got? So we're going to get some more charts here, and then we're going to get tokens, and then we're going to create an API, and this just want to, so I said the API and tokens are coming soon, and want to be sure that the product could be viable as API only. So as we're developing our API, we want to make sure that this product may only be an API. So the front end that I'm developing may just be like, hey, this is what you could build, but you're probably a better developer than me on the front end if you're a modern JavaScript stack developer or an app developer, and everything that I'm doing here can be done through the API. So that's something we want to think about in terms of minimal viable product. What would someone be willing to pay for? They might be not willing to pay for what you see here, but they may be willing to pay to access the API that does all this stuff. Okay. And what else do we need? So we're going to, first, the only internal charts you'll see will be these Oracle charts, and this is mainly for my own testing and stuff. So contacts and alerting, we don't need till later. I think we'll need to get back into, these links don't work, support and feedback. So feedback and support can go away. They were kind of placeholders to start with. So get rid of feedback, and I know these are really easy to do in Apex, but I'm just, anything I don't absolutely need getting rid of. I just needed something on the menu. User profile, so profile and billing. Profile and billing will soon become priority. So if you're going to get someone to pay for your product, they have to have a way to pay for it. We don't want to go crazy on that because the idea that anybody's going to be paying for this anytime soon is not, it's not likely, but it's kind of a crucial part to at least have something there. And I do have a Stripe integration already semi-work or working to some degree. It doesn't have, like, I haven't figured out how to do a change plan and all this kind of stuff. And then we need to get our login. We'll need to clean up our login workflow. Okay, so and I do want to add chart filtering for tags, smart tags. And then we want to support want to try sending data from my light sail instance to the API once we get. We're just jotting down lots of ideas here. This is what we're doing. Okay. So get rid of feedback and support. That should be pretty easy to do. Let's go do that. Let's just start knocking some of these things off. So we'll go to our share components and lists. It's one of these. I never remember if it's bar or menu. I think it can't be menu because there's only two. It's got to be bar. It's got 8 entries. There we go. So let's just go ahead and get rid of billing and feedback. No, not get rid of billing, sorry. Get rid of feedback and support. And I'm going to delete those. It's referenced in the user interface. Where is it referenced? This would be good if it told me right here where it was referenced. Wait, I don't want to delete that. Maybe I didn't. Oh. Well, let's look at where desktop navigation bar. I thought I could delete. I don't understand why I can't delete. Oh, I don't want to delete the whole thing, do I? See, that's confusing, right? That is not what we want to do. You can't do it from here too. I don't want to edit it. I don't want to add entries. Oh, there it is. All right, delete row. That interface is a little bit confusing. Let's try this again. All right, we want to get rid of feedback. And we want to get rid of support. Apply changes, that's how we do it. Okay. Refresh this. So now we've got profile and billing. And now we want to go to shared components. Now we want to go to utilities. I use this a lot, and I know how to find it now, but for a while it was hard to find. Delete multiple pages. And we want to go ahead and get rid of billing. No, I keep doing that. Feedback and support. Now here we got to delete pages. Okay. All right. Let's go. Need to add raw value to dataset detail. That one might be fairly easy to do in 7 minutes and 45 seconds. So let's go and look at that. So we're going to go to our dataset detail in K2, cat schema. And what are we calling the receive? I think we're calling it received value. Yeah. In stat work, I got an LED flickering in here. It's driving me crazy. In stat work, value received is what we want. So this is the raw value received into the stat in table. And we're going to add that to stat detail. Just put that there. Normally you would add the column down here, but right now we're just, anytime we're doing an upgrade with anything I'm working with, we're wiping out all of stats and rebuilding it because a lot of development is going on that's being driven by chart density. By the way, this is all available to you in K2 if you want to use it someday when I'm not changing it so much. So we're going to get our value received here, and then we need to, I believe, insert stat, was it insert into stat detail. So here's our insert into stat detail, and we'll just put value received, and we're going to pull that from stat work. So okay, that is actually, I think that works. Now, let's go ahead and see if we can install. We're going to do a full install of chart density here, and hopefully we don't get any errors. Let me make sure all of these files are saved. Oops. See, that one is going to cause me errors here. I was starting to work on that, and okay, hit F5, and this takes a few minutes or a minute or two. Wow, it's getting windy out there. Wow, really windy. So this is a full install. I'll have the actual K2 install file open if I just wanted to maybe rebuild the charts, but then I'd break all kinds of things in the app. The only way to get things working again from the beginning is do a full install. I have an ArcSQL install if I make modifications to that. I have my individual chart install file, which is in my app dev directory. If I just want to recompile a couple packages there. I have the Google chart install. So you can see as I make modifications, I might come back and run one of these. And then I usually have like a scratch pad or two open for cutting and pasting stuff that I need to run where I'm trying to avoid a full install, maybe just rebuilding a view or something like that. So, oh man, I think my house is going to blow away. Okay, so that's not it. Where are we at? Right here. So what we want to do is go at the bottom and come up. This is Google chart stuff that's supposed to be there, but basically we're just quickly looking to see if anything is there, any errors. And usually I can go through that pretty quick. So that looks like everything installed okay. And let's go to here and let's see if we can get some details. So get Oracle stats for test user, we'll run that. And then we'll process the data set. And here is our stat. The nice thing about this ID that's generated is you can keep using it over and over again and get the same stat. So here's our received value. So that's helpful. We have our delta, our received, we have the number of elapsed seconds. So from that we could determine anything we need to determine. So that was that. I'd say that's working. So 2 minutes here. Okay, so we added raw value to dataset detail. Profile and billing will become a priority, so maybe we'll work on that a little bit. Clean up the login workflow, maybe work on that today. Let's see, want to add chart filtering. I don't think this would be very hard, but it's really not that critical because I can see it in my head, and there's a lot of different ways I could do this. One thing I'm shooting for with the application is for this search bar to be super powerful. I've used other query type stuff for say Grafana or Prometheus, and it's a little cryptic what the type of writing a query up here. In fact, I'd like to be able to, the way I envision this search bar is there's going to be a help here with lots of examples of how to use this search bar. And the search bar is almost going to be like a command line. That's something that I would love. So it's going to be super simple if you need to look for a tag or a string, but then there's going to be, maybe I want to see rate, or I want to do a command. So maybe a command mode will be like colon or something. And then I could say, I want rate per hour. And so it's going to change whatever's on the screen to rate per hour. And then, maybe there's all kinds of things you could do. And you could say, and save that, or preserve that, or something like that. So I really envision a very simple, powerful command line tool for the search bar. And it's going to allow you to kind of design your data set so that, up here you can define what the default view is, for example. You'd be able to maybe tailor this and then be able to save it somehow. So, but if I start working on that, there may be no end. So we're not going to do that. So I think API is going to be, API might be before that. I think that's a little bit more technical challenge. Need to work on that. And we do want to add just a couple more charts, so that's going to take priority. So the nice thing about being a solo developer, you just kind of prioritize what you think is the next thing to work on. There's only one of you, so you can only work on one thing at a time. It kind of makes it easy in that regard. So hopefully we'll get maybe a couple of these done today. So anyway, that is it. Wasn't so much programming, it's just kind of talking through how I go about trying to figure out what am I going to do next to get to an MVP. If you have an application that you want to build and you want to talk to me about that, I would love to talk to you about it. Hear your feedback, your ideas, talk to you whatever. So if you're looking at building things on Oracle Apex and for public consumption and have a project, would love to just go back and forth with you on that. So get in touch with me and make sure you follow me here on Twitter or YouTube. Thanks.